Welcome to Beyond the Hologram. In this video, I'll be talking about why not living in the now is the main reason for fear and anxiety. So stick around. Welcome back. Many people heard the claim that not living in the now is the main reason for anxiety, worry, and unhappiness. But what does it actually mean to live in the now, and why is it so important and true? I mean, if you are worried and anxious about something right now, just stop for a sec and think, why are you feeling that way? What causes that? Why are you feeling anxious? What causes that anxiety? I mean, 99% of the time we are feeling anxious about an outcome that we fear may happen but hasn't yet. For example, you may fear the future, or you may fear the unknown, which in turn creates uncertainty, creates anxiety. And your anxiety is based on a hypothetical outcome that you don't want to happen, and all that is because you are stepping outside of the present moment. And you start venturing into a hypothetical world that doesn't exist. You fear losing the one you love, because sometimes when we are happy with someone, particularly after being single for so long, we fear losing them, and we can get overly jealous and possessive, trying to guard our little treasure in fear it will get stolen or taken away from us. The more we let our minds venture into disaster zone, the bigger the scene, and the bigger the disaster gets, and sometimes our mind just get out of control and paint this unbelievable story that literally makes our blood pressure rise. We lose sleep. We feel fear and anxiety over something that may happen, something that we created, we think may happen. We step outside of the now, and we go into a place that doesn't exist, and it actually makes us feel bad. I mean, can you think of a better definition of self-mutilation? In fact, our fears of the unknown, or creating these scenarios in our heads of what could happen, can actually ruin and take away all the fun. I mean, some people, they're in a perfect relationship, but that fear of losing the loved one makes them, get all possessive and get a tight grip on things, and literally just, live in a state of insecurity that actually can ruin that relationship. They can actually cause damage because of their own insecurity, their own fear of what could happen, instead of just enjoying it. It's here right now. I mean, 99% of the time we're feeling anxious about an outcome that we fear may happen but hasn't yet. You may be fearing losing your job security, and you may be fearing losing your house because of that, and the movie in your head starts growing. You start seeing yourself living in poverty, and you start seeing you're not being able to provide for your family, and that story just gets bigger and bigger until it can make you sick. And all that because you are venturing outside of the present moment that right now is perfect. The more we let our minds venture into disaster zone, the bigger and scarier the story gets. We are creating pain over something in our mind that could happen. We are feeling the pain of hammering our finger and screaming ouch before we even grab the hammer. Now, let's look at what's really happening. In the now, you haven't lost your job, you haven't lost your house, your family still has a place to live. You're still with your loved ones and they're still with you and everything is fine. You meet your mortgage obligations to the bank and everything is how it should be. But your monkey mind, which is an extension of your ego, is keep painting this morbid story of something that might happen, that you lose your job and you lose your loved one and someone's going to snatch it from you, and all sorts of things just make you feel insecure, and you're worrying about a possibility of a bad outcome, and you're making yourself lose sleep, causing your blood pressure to rise. You feel depressed, you feel low, and all based on something that hasn't really happened and most likely won't happen. And all this is because you are wandering into a land of imaginary possibilities you dread the most, which is all hypothetical and not what's really happening in the now. Now, look back at times where you had similar fears, where you feared the worst and had anxiety attacks and extreme worry that something would happen. What happened then? Did your fears come true, or did you come out on top as a winner? I mean, I bet you came out on top, and you also probably wondered what was the fuss all about. You probably laughed at it. The trouble is that most people don't trust that this will continue throughout their path. They think that maybe until now they had a good run of good luck, and the reserves of good luck are going to dry out. But the reality is this has nothing to do with luck, and everything to do with stepping stones and milestones along your path. In other words, if it is something that is meant to happen, whether you're worried or whether you're anxious or whether you're hopeful, if your life path involves, working in a particular job until, the end of the milestone, or being with someone until the end of the milestone, this will happen whether you want it or not. And the next milestone would unravel itself when it's time for it. And the old door needs to close in order for the new one to open. But your limited mind cannot see that what's happening behind the door. It wants to know, and it scares you that maybe there's a boogeyman that is hiding behind this door. And the need to know the full picture is a human trait that stems from distrust in the process. We need to know it will be okay. But if we knew that the next stage is already waiting for us, waiting to merge with the previous, then we'll develop a lot more trust in the unknown, and we'll understand that this is what needs to happen, and there is a timing for everything, and each piece will merge with the next one. But there's also we also need to be ready for it. We need to be ready mentally and emotionally for the pieces to come together. There are still lessons that we need to go through, and just because we want something to happen doesn't mean that it's the right time. Instead, we are trying to guess. We're stepping out of the now and going into the unknown world that doesn't exist, instead of just enjoying and happening what's happening now, instead of ruining the fun over something that could happen. To step outside of the now means you are stepping into an imaginary world of fear and something that doesn't exist but in your thoughts. Now, the most important part is your higher self knows your path more than you do, because it is the author of your path, and it knows where you are, it knows where you need to go next, and it will only guide you in the present moment. But it will not reveal more than you need to know right now. It will reveal the appropriate guidance to you in small increments, so to not overwhelm you, and this is why trust is so important. When you trust and understand that that your higher self can see a broader picture, and it will only reveal the cards when they need to be revealed. You are more at peace with the changes and less anxious about the unknown. I mean, the ego wants to know and see the whole picture. The ego always wants to know the reason it's doing something. And it will make sure to scare you that a disaster is coming and try and sabotage the present moment, despite the fact that everything is perfect right now. But, your higher self knows the road and it will guide you one step at a time. And that step always happens in the now. It is not tomorrow and it's not yesterday. And this is why living in the moment is so important, because the next step for you to take is in the moment, and it's given to you, sent to you via your intuition. And by wandering into the future and going into anxiety and having all these mind chatter, you will not be perceptive to receiving the instructions, and maybe there'll be too much noise in your head and you will not be hear that subtle intuitive message that you're receiving, or maybe you will not be able to distinguish what's mind chatter and what's an intuitive message, because you're too bogged down in the lands in what ifs. It's like it's like trying to hear the birds while standing next to a busy freeway. Your higher self will only lead you one step at a time, and there is a perfect reason for that. I mean, when you set your GPS to your destination, imagine what would happen if it called out all the turns at once before you start driving. I mean, not only you'll forget the order of the turns, but I'm pretty sure you'll think that the GPS is broken or stupid. Your higher self will do exactly that. It will only give you the instructions that you need at a given moment. And you'll do it with enough time for you to act. Not too soon so you don't forget, and not too late so you don't miss it. Your higher self is the most accurate GPS for your path. And it only guides you in the now. So not living in the now and worrying about everything in the future is the same as wandering off into space, not hearing their GPS calling out the next turn. It's the same as, worrying so much about, you being lost that you forget to enjoy the scenery, and which makes the ride a lot more pleasurable. You're so, fear-stricken and you're so insecure, lacking trust in the system that guides you, that you're just paying all your attention into your fears, and you miss out on the beautiful scenery around you and what's happening in the now, which is perfect. And what needs to happen right now is exactly what needs to happen. It's like when you're watching a movie, you're not going to think about what already happened or what the next scene is going to be. Otherwise, you're going to miss out on the developments that are happening in the now. You will not be able to make sense of it. You lose track of it. You lose the whole punchline. Everything will be will turn into a big mushy mess in your head, because you did not follow what is happening in the now in the movie. And your life is a movie that has been scripted specifically for you, and all the scenes will merge in their own time in order to maintain continuity. So don't try and guess what's coming next, when even when the current scene may seem scary or may not, may seem like a challenge or not make sense to you. They say hindsight is 20/20. You can only make sense of it when you look back. And when you look back, you have this aha moment that you look at all the pieces that didn't make sense, and you watch it how they now make sense after they've completed the picture, and they put you in a better place, a place that your mind couldn't even imagine. This is why being in the now is really, really important, because that's the only time that exists. And it's the only time that you can hear your intuitive guidance without all the mind chatter and the noise in your head. So I hope this makes sense to you. And if you like these kind of videos, please subscribe to my channel. I would appreciate it very much. Please comment. I'd like to know what you think. Share it if you think other people might benefit from it. And most importantly, stop worrying so much. Where you are right now is exactly where you need to be. You are in the perfect place. So take care.